Hello, everybody. Tish Gentili here, life and business coach. And today we're going to talk about how do you deal with anxiety, with fear, with negativity, even um, with overwhelm. I got inspired to come on here because I was having this very conversation with a friend yesterday. And my friend, who's a badass and ordinarily she's got her mind under control, we all need a little help sometimes. So it's awesome to have friends that are coaches and are into all these positive thinking kinds of things. But she was having a lot of anxiety and some fear and this feeling of overwhelm because she had all these medical tests to be done. She had some issues with a past relationship, and she was just like her mind was overloaded, right? So I kind of wanted to take you on the journey that I kind of took her through this and how I've dealt with fear, anxiety, and overwhelm myself. And the first thing about dealing with anxiety, especially, is an overwhelm, is if you're in that state, you're getting emotionally involved with the wrong idea. I always say one thought can take you to heaven or take you to hell. So when the thought arises, when we don't have a separation between us and the thought, because we're not our thoughts. We're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions, we're not our body. We are the observer of all that. And when you start to observe your thinking from a place of being the awakened one, you could say, I call it being in the back seat. Because if you notice, there's two voices in your head. There's the one that's blabbing all the time, and then there's one that's watching all this activity. Well, the one that's watching all this activity is who you really are. All those voices, all that noise in your head is your false self, your ego, your personality that you acquired from age 0 to 10 mostly. And now we believe we are that. We make that our identity. And that's not who we are. So when we start to go into negative thinking, whatever it may be, it's because we've engaged in the thought. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, right? And it's the ones that we give our attention to, we get emotionally hooked into the thought that's going to cause the suffering for us. And anxiety, especially, is because we're living somewhere in a future that of what ifs, or what if this, like the world comes to an end kind of thinking. And that living in the future, usually a negative future, is what's going to give us anxiety. Same with overwhelm. Overwhelm means that we have a thought that we need to do everything all at once, right? Again, a thought will take you to heaven and take you to hell. So the first thing to ask yourself is, am I getting emotionally involved with the wrong idea? Am I believing my thinking? When your mind tells you negative thoughts, it's lying to you. Okay. I was listening to Rhonda Burns, and she was saying, what if all of your negative thoughts were not true? And I made that decision to make that my reality. It's a practice because we've been practicing believing in our thoughts so long, but those thoughts that arise are part of our paradigm, part of our programming. They're not even ours to begin with. And they're other people's shit that we've acquired and we believe it. So now it's like, so number one, don't get emotionally involved. Do not believe your thoughts. Remember that a thought creates a feeling, that feeling causes an action, and that action leads to a result. So if you're believing in all the, oh, what if I die? What if my test doesn't come out right? What if my ex does blah, blah, blah? Oh, I call them blah, blah, blahs because it's all those little gremlins that are in our mind. So create a separation. Know that that thinking that's going on, that voice, is not really you. And stop living in the future and stop living in the past, and just be present in the moment. So let's go into overwhelm a little bit here. Overwhelm means we think we have to do it all right now, but guess what? We can't do it all right now. It's just not possible, right? So I've had moments of extreme overwhelm, and this is what I've learned is that, okay, what is the next best step? Then what is the next best step? And when you just stay present and aligned within yourself and take that next best step from a place of non judgment, non-resistance. Here's another thing is when we have negative thinking, we're resisting it. We don't want to feel it. And in the resisting, it's like pushing a beach ball under the water. It's going to pop up somewhere and it's not going to be good, right? So I'm going to share what I learned from Rhonda Burns too is that it's like embracing the negative thinking and not making yourself wrong or bad for doing it is going to make it dissipate. It's going to go psh, like a steamer, when you open up, I have an Instapot. So when you let out the steam, all the steam comes out and then it stops, right? Well, that's what happens when we also don't resist that negative thinking and we're trying to run away or escape from it. So embrace the negative thoughts, be with it, send it love, and it's going to dissipate as well. What you resist will persist. So that's another part of that. Now, here's a really powerful exercise that I'm going to leave you with, and that's by a woman named Byron Katie. And Byron Katie has something called the work, and it's a questioning process. So now when I have a negative thought that overwhelms me or makes me feel anxious, the first thing, and here's the first question you would ask is this true? Is this really true that the world's going to end and we're all going to die? Probably not. No, it's not true. And then you question it again. Is this really true? If you were to really break it down, is this really true? The answer is no, usually. Okay. Then the next question you want to ask yourself is, who would I be without this thought? Who would I be without this thought? Well, you would be free. And not only that, but you would access solutions because now you're calm. You're not freaking out. I always have this visual of us in the water drowning and we're pedaling, and we're like, and we're drowning more because we're freaking out. Well, that's what happens when we go into fear, anxiety, and overwhelm. So who would I be if I wasn't pedaling, if I wasn't freaking out? Well, I would be calm. I'd be able to access solutions. Ideas could come into my mind. I would be way more productive because I wouldn't be trying to escaping on TikTok or social media or eating or drinking, right? Because that's what we do. And then after you decide who you'd be without that thought, you just let it go, right? Letting go is so powerful. It's one of the most powerful practices that we can do for our spiritual growth, for our results, for everything. So those little tips, trust me, work like a charm. And so I took her through that very process. And in conversation, she started to calm down. She started to feel better. You start to see more clearly that a lot of this thinking that we have too can be habitual, right? We've been taught to worry. Worry is creating in reverse. Worry means you've just put an image in your mind of what you want to create and it's bad, right? So it's so profound too when you start to distance yourself from your thinking. Meditation helps this so much. Mindfulness practice helps this so much. But it's time for us to realize our thoughts are incredibly powerful. Okay. Our mind is incredibly powerful, but it's a tool. And when you're not using your mind, you want to put it aside and take the back seat of your soul, the observer, and try to be in the back seat as much as you can. Try to be the observer as much as you can. And make that decision that every single negative thought that you have is a lie. Best decision ever, right? So leave a comment below of what you liked about this video. Please like it, comment what resonated with you, what you're practicing now. We're getting into the holidays, so you can practice all this stuff. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Take care, everybody.